All right, welcome back. And of course, we are live on X Spaces, on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course, on myjoyonline.com. Your comments are welcome via our social media handles, and we'll share with the rest of the world. Now, this afternoon, the race to avoid a national power shutdown is on as the Energy Minister, John Jinapop, scrambles to find billions of cedis to purchase liquid fuel to power electricity generating plants. Now, the Energy Minister told members of Parliament on the Energy Committee that the country currently has less than 3 days of liquid fuel in stock. Now, while some more fuel has been ordered, funds are not available as we speak now to pay for this. Now, the minister is expected to make desperate last-minute day-to effort at Cabinet to secure the necessary funds to make these payments. We can listen to him in his briefing with members of the Energy Committee of Parliament.
Thank you, Chairman. Today, as I sit here, this morning, my headache is how to get the next parcel of liquid fuel. The fuel we have to take us 2.6 days. We've placed order for fuel, but it has to be paid. We've procured some fuel on credit and working with the Minister of Finance to pay. But the truth is that the Minister of Finance also has its limits. And so we'll be going to Cabinet to discuss how we can improve on the sector. And that is why we are pushing for some private sector participation in ECG's operations. It does not entirely solve the problem, but it takes us to another level. Because if the collections are reduced from the 40% to say 5%, it means that we'll be collecting more. Cabinet has also adopted a position, and we'll brief you, Chairman. All MMDAs are supposed to pay for their electricity bills. They have to budget for it. We've identified what we call critical institutions. They include the health sector, the education sector, the security agencies, and the presidency. Even with that, so if you take the health sector, is the theaters, the laboratories, the wards that will be exempted. If you take the education institutions, dormitories are not part, restaurants are not part, only lecture theaters. So we've classified that, and Cabinet is granting the approval and will publish that. Even what we term as critical institutions, the Minister of Finance will have to budget for it and pay.
Right, so the question is about what the ministry is doing to, get the necessary funds to purchase the fuel. And of course, we can listen to the minister again on steps being taken to address this challenge.
This year alone, government spent over 24 billion cedis in energy sector, either you call it subsidies, under recoveries, or shortfalls. This year, it is estimated at over 30 billion in terms of the shortfall. Yesterday, we had a session with the finance minister, and a lot of the people here were there. We require about $1.1 billion to procure liquid fuels alone. Unfortunately, and the PRC is here, the liquid fuel is not part of the tariff structure. And so you will be buying close to $15 billion of liquid fuel, and that has to be paid by the central government because it's not part of the tariff structure. As if that is not enough, what you call the reserve margin, which is a necessity, because you just don't bring plants to meet exactly what you consume. What if one plant goes off for maintenance or any situation? That is not also part of the tariff structure. More importantly, the tariff itself, ECG is unable to collect all the monies. And so you're having a deficit of about 2 billion cedis every month when it comes to ECG's collections. When you add that deficit and you add the fuel, which is not part of the pass-through, you are looking at over 30 billion. Karpower has just sent us a letter that by 18th, they will shut down the plant because we owe them more than $400 million. IPPs alone, we owe them $1.7 billion. And so it's serious.
Indeed, it is very serious, and that is why we want to find answers to the concerns of the minister and, of course, the concerns of the energy sector. The thing is that if funds are not released immediately, we'll run out of fuel that we are using to power our plans. And that means that by the end of the weekend, we are likely to have energy crisis in this country. Now, parliamentary correspondent Kokwa Santo will join me shortly. But before we do that, let me bring in Mr. Ishmael Ajikumhene, former Public Utility Regulatory Commission board member, and of course with the Kumasi Institute of Technology and Environment. Mr. Ajikumhene, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon.
So good to have you. And in fact, the picture the energy minister is painting is quite scary. What I want to find out is what really is the issue with the energy sector that every day we hear new figures of debt. What is the problem as you see it?
Okay, so I mean, I've listened to the minister, and I am not too sure about all the things that he's talking about, especially when the amount of money he's quoting as the money required to procure liquid fuels. And I'm also a little bit surprised that the minister is saying that the cost of buying the fuel is not part of the tariffs. I'm not too sure whether that is entirely accurate, but I will come back to that.
Right.
The problem is this. You know, when you produce electricity, there are various cost centers, and that ultimately goes in to determine the tariff that end users are supposed to pay. The PURC, when they are setting their tariffs, they allow for what they call regulatory losses, which for some time now is hovering around 21%. And then they cost everything, and they say that we expect the distribution utilities, who are the off-takers of the power that the IPPs are producing, to collect minimum 98% of the energy or electricity that they will procure and bill and sell, 98%. So it's only 2% that is allowed as non-collectible. So if you are unable to collect all that 98%, it means that tariff is not covering that. But what tariff is covering includes the fuel. The only problem here is that if you look at the energy outlook that was prepared by the Energy Commission, and that report is on the Energy Commission's website, so you can always check. The projected cost of procuring fuel for 2025 is around $1.2 billion US. But the bulk of that, about 97% of that, is supposed to come from natural gas. Okay. So I believe what the minister is saying and what he's saying is not being covered by the tariffs is the fact that everything has been, the projection is that we're going to use gas. Predominantly for a very long time, gas has been the favored fuel because it's cheaper than crude. I believe what he's talking about is the fact that they would have used natural gas to price, but we're required to get some liquid fuels.
Right.
There's always a price differential, but that's why the PURC do quarterly adjustments. In the next window, they take all of these things into consideration, including whether or not more hydro than projected was generated or not. So it's not entirely true. But the problem that we have is that for a very long time, we are unable to account for all the power that ECG, for example, will procure. It's the same with NETCO.
Right.
So whenever that happens, it means that you are not in a position to be able to go and pay for the fuel, that the invoices that are given to you. And the problem is further complicated when, as we know, the Atuabo plant is having a challenge because whereas in that instance, we get to use the fuel on credit and sometimes not even pay for it. That's how come GMP, Ghana Gas, is being owed a lot of money. But when it comes to liquid fuel, nobody is selling it to you on credit. So anytime we have a gas shortage problem, then government needs to find money because ECG doesn't have the money, or neither does any of the power producers. So that's the problem that we have. Not only are we having losses, but we are also not able to collect enough to be able to pay for all the costs. But the amount of money that I believe the minister is quoting, maybe they need to check the numbers again because it's way, way, way above what has been estimated in the 2025 energy outlook. But there is a problem. And everybody knew that there's always a problem. And if the minister is telling us today that we have only two and a half days of liquid fuel supply, I mean, I would accept that when he first came in and there was a looming crisis, but everybody had known that we need to get some stock. So it's not enough to say that we have only 2.5 days, because at least it's been there for more than a month.
Right.
And it's long enough for him to be able to arrange for fuel to come in.
But my difficulty, in fact, and I raised this matter some few hours ago about the minister. Even during President Mohamed swearing in, he gave us the same warning that we were left with 2 days of fuel. Today, 15th of May, he's giving us the same thing. And it looks like every opportunity he gets...
You see, that's precisely the problem. And it's because he's faced with the reality. The problem is that you need cash. A cargo of crude oil is about $50 million. And one cargo of crude oil is about $50 million.
Right.
And nobody is selling it to you on credit. You need cash. We all know that the economy is stretched. But you see, if ECG were able to collect all the monies that the power they sell, I mean, there's another issue that has to do with what he talked about as reserve margin. For a very long time, when the honorable minister was in opposition, he kept saying that there's never been any excess capacity. There is excess capacity. Excess capacity is the reason why we have some of the debt that is piling up, because not only are we not even able to pay for the ones that have been produced, there is also some additional capacity that we've either told them not to start or not to produce at all, that they also submit invoice for us to pay. The sector we need to fix the collection as soon as possible. We need to ensure that if we can rely on an indigenous gas supply, it's always going to be cheaper for us to secure maybe gas contracts from neighboring countries aside of what we've already contracted, because in most cases it's cheaper than us trying to bring in the liquid fuel. Everybody knows that liquid fuels are expensive. That's how come in the projections that was done in the outlook, they weren't looking to bring in more than 400,000 barrels of HFO, and that was even only for AXA. So 2 months down the line, I think if we have only 2.5 days of supply, then the minister should stop giving excuses, because it's long enough for us to have the liquid fuel. I can understand if they didn't expect that the Atuabo plant is going to have a problem, so we haven't made provision for that. It does happen. It was happening previously because there's no cash to go and buy the liquid fuel, and everybody managing the sector would wish that there is always gas. But if there is no gas, they need to have strategic reserve that will take you not for 2 days, but at least for a month.
Let me ask, because you need to go, let me ask a final question here, and then we can also hear from the minority. They say that some big companies and state institutions are not paying their bills. The reason why ECG is unable to collect that much. And that for me is at the crust of the issue. I am on a prepaid meter, and I make sure that I even buy excess of what I need, because I don't want the situation where my light will go off in the middle of the night and I don't know what to do. So I always have excess amount of money on my prepaid. And some have suggested that the prepaid meter constitutes one major step to address these financial issues, with ECG. But here's the case: we have state-owned enterprises, ministries that are also not paying what they consume. Government says we'll bring in the private sector to undertake some operations of ECG. What, in your view, should be the way forward to make ECG more potent in delivering on this mandate?
For me, I believe that the managers of the distribution utility should be held more accountable than they are being held at the moment. And it is not just today. You recall the battle that the previous PRC board were having with the board of ECG.
Right.
The people at ECG, the top management let's face it, in any private business, if you are unable to collect more than a certain amount, there are key performance indicators that you give to the people. Let the person sign on to that and say, if I'm not able to deliver, I would allow myself to be fired. There are people who are taking their salary, full salary, bonuses and packages, but the system is not getting better. There's a problem with that. If the people don't feel that there's the employer, the person who appoints them is going to fire them when they do 60% collection, then there's very little incentive. But let me say this before I go off. You see, most of the time we push all the blame to the utilities. Okay, they have their own challenges, but we also have to be honest and help the system. You talked about prepaid meters. There are studies that show that the leakages that is going on, even with the prepayment, it's scary. Okay, so let's all come on board and help by, for example, if you know somebody, we have friends. You know people who are bypassing their meters. People know hotels who are stealing power. ECG cannot be everywhere at the same time.
That's true.
So they need a citizenry, and we all need to be good citizens. Obviously, technology will help. Prepaid metering will help. But the cost of one prepaid meter, it's so high. It's so high that they need money to bring in those meters as well. And when they are doing that, that is capital expenditure that PURC will have to add it to their tariff proposals and allow them to recover over a period of time. There are no free lunches here.
Right.
There are problems with the system, but we also need to help them. If you're on credit meters, go pay your bills. It's true that you might not receive your bill, but you know that if you use electricity, go pay your bill so that at least they have sufficient money to do that. But briefly, the reason why government is not able to hold the MMDAs to account is that you take the universities, for example. If you want them to all go prepaid metering, they need enough money to be able to be paying for the electricity. Meanwhile, the academic user fee that the universities are charging the people, there's a cap. Government says that you can't go beyond this amount. The reason why Kolebu can't pay its electricity bill is that if I take the true cost of keeping the electricity on and add it to the bill that patients are supposed to pay, that is when I'm able to collect enough and pay my electricity. So if I'm not collecting enough because government has imposed a cap on that, then all they do is that when they have the money, they use it to buy the essentials. And then they leave you to figure out where to get the money to pay for the utilities. So let's be honest with ourselves. If we want the MMDAs to be paying their, I'm not saying that they shouldn't pay their electricity. But sometimes the subvention that is given to them doesn't cover even their utilities. It will be interesting. That's how come if they go to prepaid metering, very soon you see that you go to an office, and not that they have squandered the money, but there's no money to pay for the payment. The energy sector is in serious crisis, and we all need to come on board. The government says it's bringing private sector on board. Let's interrogate the modalities they're going to use to engage the private sector, and then let's all help the sector to stand. Otherwise, we are going nowhere.
All right, Mr. Ishmael Ajekume, thank you so much for your perspective on this matter. He is a former board member of the PURC, and that's his perspective of this particular matter. Now, the crisis is quite deep, and people are preferring some solutions to this. Let's listen to George Kwame Abuaju, who's a ranking member on the Energy Committee, and he's of the view that state institutions are also not paying their bills, the reason why ECG collection is very low.
Most of our companies in this country, a lot of them, they don't pay electricity bills. A lot don't pay. And transmission losses also is another factor, which the minister has to look at it. We are currently at around 29 to 30% transmission losses, whereby the OECD or the international sectors, their transmission losses is around 8 to 9%. So if we are able to overcome these transition losses, also it's part of money. Because at generation, when you generate power, okay, immediately you generate, the generator charges what he has generated. So whether you use it or not, whether it goes to the consumer or not, definitely they are going to charge us. So this is some of the areas I would like the minister to look at it. Because transmission losses is killing us. I always said, our tariff is when you compare to the West African sector tariff, I think we are almost at par with them. But if we are at par with them and still having all these challenges, what do you have to say? So these two critical sectors, three critical areas, like the transmission losses and people who are not paying, big industries. Because very few are paying electricity bills in this country. So, Mr. Minister, you have our support. We will not antagonize what you want to do for the country. We all want the best. You've been a ranking member before, and we'll collaborate with the chairman and the rest of the committee to do what is right for this country.
Right, so that's the MPP side on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, and that's the ranking member there. Now, some of you have also been sharing your views on this particular matter. We've got 2 days to buy fuel, otherwise you are likely to have Dumsor in your home. And Crystal says a black country called Ghana that produces oil is looking for money to buy oil from the white man, so the white man's machines can give the black country called Ghana electricity. Again, we've got February says the NDC government told we Ghanaians that the MPP government left only 2 weeks of fuel back then before leaving the governance of this country. So we should direct the Dumsor on them. Almost 5 months on, the Power Minister comes out to say that the outfit is left with just 3 days. So what really is going on? The revelation is telling us that the MPP government did well in managing the energy sector. Bernard says, what is entirely true, you were mute during the whole 8 years of the MPP administration. So electricity is key for everybody, and that's the reason why we are spending some time on this particular matter. Let's move away from energy and talk about something that also took place today. The minority took to the streets of Accra this morning to petition the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, also the police, CID, and the OSP over the Sami Gyamfi gift saga. The presidency on Wednesday cautioned and cleared the acting CEO of the Gold Board, indicating that no further action will be taken against him. But the minority, they've rejected the move, insisting Sami Gyamfi must be sanctioned. James Aveji was with them throughout this petition presentation ceremony, and he joins me in studio. So, James, what exactly are they seeking in this petition? First, let's find out who is the petitioner in this matter.
So the petitioner is the MP for Nalerugu Gambaga constituency, Honorable Mumuni Nuruddin Mohammed. He is doing the petition on behalf of the minority, and he, in the company of the minority whip himself, Habib Idris, as well as the NPP as a party's Deputy General Secretary, Haruna Mohammed, including some other members of Parliament, have visited the 3 investigative bodies today. They first went to the Shraj, and then they proceeded to the CID headquarters, and finally to the office of the Special Prosecutor, and then gave an address at the floor in Parliament. Basically, they are raising 6 grounds in total for this petition. Top amongst it, which includes what we've heard earlier, some various provisions on money laundering as well as other regulations. But what is different with this is the inclusion of the code of conduct of the public appointees, which have been launched by the president a few days ago. That code of conduct have been included in this particular 6 grounds that they want the OSP, the Shraj, as well as the police CID to do their investigations into. They want them to investigate 4 key things, which amongst them is the source of the dollars we have seen Sami Gyamfi give out, and also establish whether there is a possible conflict of interest as well as corruption in that part, to generally establish whether giving out dollars in public is legitimate or not, so that we can proceed from there. We can listen to the MP himself addressing the media in Parliament, expatiating on this as well as other issues he's been raising, including the Cecilia Dapa issue and the position the then minority took on it.
Right. So we're working to get a file. We'll bring that soundbite shortly, and then we can. But they'll be joining me in the studio pretty soon. So what's next for them? Did they say?
They will now have to wait for these 3 investigative bodies to get into the investigation. It is not yet clear how long this is going to take. Let me also establish that for all 3 organizations they've been to, they've not been able to meet the substantive heads of these organizations. For instance, at Shraj, they had to present to the legal department. The Shraj boss himself didn't receive this. The same as the CID headquarters, we were told that the CID boss herself is in a meeting, and so they had to present it to be received on her behalf, as well as the Office of the Special Prosecutor. As to how long it will take, we do not know yet. What is also not known is whether whatever outcome, the recommendations the 3 bodies would predict out of this, whether there is a sanction, there will be a sanction in it or not, as to whether the presidency will go ahead to implement that or not, that we also do not know. And so we will now be waiting on the 3 investigative bodies to get into this and establish or not what they are calling for.
Right. We can listen to the petitioner after the presentation today.
We want these institutions of states who are mandated to do some of these things to find out the source of the money. Where did Mr. Semi Jefi got that huge amount of money that he doesn't have Ghana cedi in his car and he can put his hand into a bag and bring $10,000 and dash to $10,000 alleged and dash to somebody. And also want them to investigate whether the said currency form part of public or institutional fund entrusted into Mr. Semi Jefi hands as the acting CEO of Gold Board. We also want to know whether it's a potential conflict of interest and abuse of office. We also want to know whether he has violated the code of conduct for public officers recently launched by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And we also want to know whether he has breached the Foreign Exchange Act, which we believe he has. We also want to know potential tax evasion by Mr. Semi Jefi or the receiver of the money. If you look at all these issues, during the 2024 campaign, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama mentioned that the difficult decision of dealing with your own people, that is appointees, is what make you pass the test of corruption. So we want to find out from His Excellency John Dramani Mahama what has changed. Because if you can't deal with your own people, you can't deal with Mr. Semi Jefi, then who else can you deal with? If you remember, Cecilia, the former minister, Abnadapa, it was the same issue, dollars issue. But we never saw those dollars, but he was punished by the president and he's under prosecution or investigation. The same thing, if you look back to 2012, coming back to 2016, Victoria Hammer, you remember that case? Victoria Hammer was talking to somebody, mentioned that she want to make $1 million. Just for saying she want to make $1 million alone, he was punished and sacked from the government. So we believe that it is not different from Mr. Semi Jefi case. So that is why today we have taken this upon ourselves to petition the relevant authorities for them to investigate this issue and come out with proper sanctions or any other thing that will clear Mr. Semi Jefi very well. If he's found culpable, he should be punished. But if he's not, he should be freed. We don't have to, if we are not here or we are not doing this petition to destroy the political career or the personality of Mr. Semi Jefi. No, that is not the case. We want the law to work. So tomorrow next, if the law says that giving out dollars to somebody is not a crime, then if I also have my dollars one day, I can give out to somebody in public and it will not be a crime. But if the law says it's a crime, it will serve as a lesson to everybody that when you do this, you are breaching a particular law.
I'm going to read more into this particular matter because the petitioner is the Member of Parliament for Nalerigu Gambaga, Mumuni Mohammed Nuruddin. Mumuni, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And of course, Haruna Mohammed is a Deputy General Secretary of the MPP. Haruna, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
This place has been a home.
Of course, of course, of course. But before we listen to them, government provided the justification for cautioning Sammy Gyamfi. Let's listen to Felix Kwacho-Fosu, who is a government spokesperson.
In the last few days, there has been some matters relating to the acting chief executive officer of the Gold Board, Mr. Sammy Gyamfi, regarding a video that emerged of some interaction with Agrada. You would recall that in the immediate aftermath of the emergence of the video, Mr. Sammy Gyamfi promptly issued an apology in which he expressed regret over the matter and took on board public concerns raised overseas. A day after that, the Chief of Staff summoned him to the presidency to learn about what transpired. The invitation was honored by Mr. Sammy Gyamfi. He indicated to the Chief of Staff what his side of the story is, what explanation there is for what we all saw in the video. At the time, President Mahama was out of the country, so he had to be briefed on the discussions held with Mr. Sammy Gyamfi by the Chief of Staff, and he has been briefed. Now, the view is that, to begin with, the presidency acknowledges Mr. Sammy Gyamfi's immediate act of contrition and the acknowledgement of the need to express regret over that incident. So that apology has been taken on board. You do recall that when President Mahama launched the Code of Conduct, he said that one of the remedies for any potential breach was a public apology. He also said one of the potential remedies was a caution from the highest levels of government. After the interaction with the Chief of Staff, the Chief of Staff cautioned him, having acknowledged the apology he made. He cautioned him and impressed upon him to take on board public sentiment and act in ways that reflect public expectation. The Chief of Staff also took the opportunity to reissue the same caution that the President had sent to all appointees to be circumspect in their conduct. There may be things that may be commonplace in our private lives, but once you become a public official, you need to be sensitive to public expectation, and therefore that ought to guide the way that you order your steps. So in view of that, presidency does not believe that any further action ought to be taken beyond the apology and the caution. And we all take a cue from it and are going to do better in order to meet the expectations of the Ghanaian public. We value feedback. We are aware that Ghanaians expect high standards in the performance of our duties as public officials. We remain committed to meeting those high standards.
So that's the government official position on this particular matter, espoused by Felix Kwacho-Fosu. He is a government spokesperson. In the studio is Nuruddin. He petitioned the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the CID, SHRAJ, and of course the Deputy General Secretary of the MPP, Haruna. Mr. Nuruddin, so you heard the government spokesperson. As far as government is concerned, this is a closed matter. They've moved on. President Mahama is thanking the people of the Upper West region for voting for the MPP. You say that this matter cannot be moved on like that. Why?
Mara, thank you very much for this opportunity, and good evening to you and good evening to your viewers. I will first of all want to say a very good evening to the people of Nalero Gamba constituency for giving me the opportunity to represent them as a member of parliament for the area. If you look at this issue, after hearing from the communication minister, I was so disappointed. Likewise, the minority members in parliament were disappointed, because we were expecting that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, after hearing and seeing what Mr. Semi Jemfi did, the acting CEO of Gold Board and the communication officer for the National Democratic Party, we were expecting that he will be referred to the appropriate institution, like the former president always do, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo. If you look at what the former president always do, when issue of this nature come up, he doesn't sit at the Flasser House and clear the person involved. What he does is to refer these issues to the appropriate state agency mandated to investigate this issue, to investigate and come out with whatever findings that they get. If you look at the former minister, Cecilia Dapar case, His Excellency, the former president sacked her and referred her to the appropriate institution, and later he was cleared for no wrongdoing. So we were expecting that Mr. Semi Jemfi will be referred to either Shraj, the CID, or the special prosecutor for investigation to go on. But unfortunately, we didn't see that yesterday. That is why we took it upon ourselves.
You think that the inquiry that was conducted into this matter by the chief of staff wasn't enough?
No, it wasn't enough. Chief of staff is not an institution to investigate some of these misconducts. We have state institutions like Shraj, like the CID, like the special prosecutor.
And where is the misconduct in this matter?
If you look at the misconduct recently, His Excellency met his appointees and spelled out code of conduct for the appointees, breach of public conduct for public appointees. He told them that appointees should not be showing off. If you look at what Semi Jemfi did, he showed off. Because just recently MDC came to power 4 months down the line. Semi Jemfi doesn't have Ghana cedi in his car. What he has is dollars. And it was alleged that the money given to Agada was $10,000. If you also look at the Foreign Exchange Act 206 at 723, you will realize that he has also violated an act. If you also look at the Currency Act 1964 Act 242, you will realize that he has also violated an act. Possible misappropriation or abuse of public resources, or he's somebody who is holding an institution, that is the new Gold Board that is headed. So it can be that the money that he gave out to Agada was from the Gold Board. And also, if you look at failure of leadership and institutional oversight, these are some of the grounds that we realize that no, the chief of staff and the president cannot sit at the presidency and just clear Mr. Semi Jemfi just like that. We have to test the state institutions to know whether these laws are really laws that Semi Jemfi breach or they are not breached. It's some of these things that will put the matter to rest. You see, we in the minority are not out there to tarnish the image of Mr. Semi Jemfi or destroy his personality. No, that is not what we are doing. We want the president to set a good precedent for everybody to learn lessons from. Let's say in the future, if the state institution that we petition come out and say that no, Semi Jemfi have done nothing wrong. So in the future, if I also do my business and I'm a politician and I have my dollars, I can organize media to come and take me pictures and I'll be giving the dollars out. I will not be offending any law. But if the state institutions say that Semi Jemfi has breached the laws, which means to serve as a lesson to everybody to know that flashing out foreign currency, especially dollars in this country, is lawlessness. All right. So these are some of the issues that
you are asking. We'll come back to probe further into this particular matter. But let me bring in Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the MPP. So Haruna, the MPP is still, trying to recover from the last election, the defeat that you suffered in the last election. And the suggestion here is that you are looking for every opportunity to make yourself relevant. The reason why you've taken this matter to this level, otherwise, looking at it carefully, there is really nothing much to it if you take the political, currency out of it.
Elton, there is much to governance than politics. And I also disagree with you that we still trying as much as possible to come out from the defeat in 2024. And also disagree with the fact that we want to make ourselves relevant. In politics, what makes you relevant is what you have left behind, the legacies that you leave behind. And everybody know from 1992 to date, the legacies of the MPP and the program and policies that we put through has a very higher mortality rate. Everybody knows our contributions to democratic process in Ghana in terms of election processes. Everybody knows our contribution to governance. We have major things that we have done that no government can match to that. So what we have done in government and what we have done in opposition is what has kept us relevant up to date. So we are not seeking for relevance. We are seeking for due process to ensure that the niche that we have carved for ourselves as a country called Ghana in Africa and the globe, we think that we must live to the tenets of democracy in Ghana. And that is what is driving us. And when the minority came out to do a press conference through Dr. Tia Kabiru, they made their point very clear. The National Party came out with the national organizer leading the charge for the press conference. We indicated, and we did not mince words, because what we are doing is to be able to sanctify the processes and the democratic credentials of Ghana, and to also ensure that public service organizations and persons who are put in charge of public service management are mindful of the ethical procedures. And thank God, His Excellency the President, apart from the ethical procedures and the guidelines for public service organizations, also gave us what we call the code of conduct for his appointees. And I am very surprised that Felix would say, or many other people, because I was on a platform on multimedia with him, and he said that there is no specific provision in the code of conduct that it is said that you shouldn't dash out money. You don't need to see it. And also, I want to point to, there is no any provision in the code of conduct that when you dash out money, you should be pardoned upon apology. There is no provision in the code of conduct. And we have always made references. We've made reference to section 1.2 of the code of conduct. And if you permit me, Elton,
yeah, please do.
I will let you see. It says that, in his or her ministerial or political or personal role, the minister must act lawfully and uphold and be seen to uphold the highest ethical standard in relation to the president, his or her duties, and the people of Ghana. These standards include integrity, respect, probity, transparency, accountability, ethics, propriety, commitment, and loyalty. Hence, the minister must, or appointee, act honestly. Honesty is key. Uphold the highest standard of integrity, truthfulness, and transparency in dealing and decision-making to preserve and enhance public confidence and trust in the integrity, objectivity, and impartiality of government.
And what has Samir done wrong in this particular matter?
One, if you look at, in terms of public confidence and trust, trust is very key. The reason why you will pick a child and throw a child up and the child will smile and come to your arms is because of trust. If I don't trust that when I come you will hold me, I would not accept it.
But how does giving a gift breach trust in this particular matter?
You are giving a public office. The public office that Samir Gyamfi is holding is an office that is to protect the foreign currency transactions, where we are going to use it to regulate the free fall of the cedi. There we put together gold reserves, which was a clear initiative of the previous government. And until then, before he went there, they have not been able to garner so much of the gold reserves. They have garnered less than 1 ton. Where we say that we are not going to more use dollars to buy crude oil, or we are to use dollars to buy other things from outside the country. We are going to use gold in exchange of those particular goods and services that we have to enhance or get into our country. So therefore, we are going to debar ourselves or try as much as possible to reduce dollar transactions to ensure that we use the gold, such a person is seen publicly not even transacting in foreign currency, but gifting foreign currency. And you know, in economies, speculation is very key. Speculation is a key standard of the misbehavior of foreign currencies or even local currencies. So the confidence of the people would not be served. So the public confidence and trust in this particular manner is being attacked. The integrity of public service officers to stay out there is being attacked. Again, it is also said in C, perform his or her official duties and manage his or her personal affairs in a manner that withstands the closest public scrutiny. Your personal, you must be very careful.
Right.
How you go about your personal duties. In all
of
must
this,
be able to hold. Yes. So in all of this, the way manner he did that. And we saw him when the Cecilia Abena Dapa issue came. He sat on public platforms and quoted the Anti-Money Laundering Act, Section 1. He said, and I quote him, once money is found in your custody and you cannot account for the money, and that money is disproportionate to your income, you shall was stressed by him to deem to commit the offense of money laundering.
But the power money we know was in excess of 1 million.
The point is that money was not found.
The money that he gave to this evangelist, would not be more than $3,000.
You are speculating. The point here is that money was not found on Cecilia Dapa. Cecilia Dapa reported a theft case in her house.
Right.
But in this case, money is found on him to be counted. He counted the money like a counting machine. He gave it out to the woman in question. We want to know the source of the money.
Yeah, so if I just want to... Sami Jemfi, apart from working as communication officer of the NDC, on record, he's done private businesses. You're saying that in his right frame and stature, he cannot have this money as his bona fide property?
When Sami Jemfi was speaking about Cecilia Dapa had worked in the public service for 40 years. Okay? She had worked in the public service for 40 years with private businesses. She has been an MP, she has been a deputy minister, a minister, both Kufuor government and Akufo-Addo's government. The husband, whom she lives with in the same house, is an international architect who is paid in dollars. Didn't he know that this was the same process? Did he forget about that? And today, the same person who had drawn and ensured that this sword should be used against this woman, today, people are saying that an apology is enough. No. Investigation should be conducted. If it is his money, we don't have any problem because he's a public officer. Elton, today, if you do it, we will not call for it because you are not a public officer. You are not paid with taxpayers' money. We will not call for it. But he is a public officer. And besides that, His Excellency has launched a code of conduct. And he has known to have said that the difficult decisions that you will take as president against your own is what will define you as a politician in Africa who will succeed.
Let me bring in Nuruddin. So Nuruddin, you are a member of parliament, and I'm sure that this matter really, if you look at it carefully, you politicians, you move around with money. I'm sure by the time you get out of our studios, some of your constituents who are in Accra and listening, they will come and mass up here in front of the office and try to take some lunch or dinner money from you. In the run-up to even becoming an MP, some of you spend millions of cedis just to secure the mandate of your constituents and then to win to get to power. So some of this benevolence that you do is nothing different from what you are complaining and you are asking the OSP, the Shraj, and the others to probe Sami Jemfi.
Elton, these are different issues altogether. If I get out of your studio and my constituent who stays in Accra comes and say, Honorable, it's been a long time. I don't have dollars and I don't have to give him dollars.
But if you have dollars, I
won't give him dollars because Ghana, we don't spend dollars. We spend cedi. That is why even law was passed and we're telling property owners and businesses that they should stop pricing their businesses in dollars.
So the dollar is the problem here.
You see, Elton, the issue here is that if Mr. Sami Gyamfi was giving out cedi, maybe 2,000 Ghana, because Agada told him that he should give him money, her money for fuel, is that not it? So if someone requests money for fuel and you are giving him dollar, it is even alleged that the money was up to $10,000. Elton, if you convert $10,000 even with today with their manufactured exchange range 12.45, it will be around 125,000 Ghana cedi. Fuel money, 100. Elton, if someone asks me to give him fuel money, I'll give like 100, 200, but not 125,000 Ghana cedi. So that is why we are saying that these bodies that are mandated to investigate some of this issue, to put the issue to rest. In the case of Cecilia Diapa, we didn't see the money, but in the case of Sami Gyamfi, we saw the money freely. In the case of the former Deputy Communication Minister, the Mahama First Administration, Victoria Hama, she made a phone call with somebody and her intention was to make $1 million. Just that intention alone, he was fired and punished. So that is why we are saying that the clearing agent cannot sit at the presidency or the Flagstaff House and clear Mr. Sami Gyamfi just like that. We want the special prosecutor, the Shraj, and the CID to investigate to know the source of the money. If they come out to say that the money is Sami Gyamfi money, we don't have any problem with that. So that the next time I also do my business and I have my dollars and I'm dashing out to people, no one will take him to special prosecutor because a president has been said that if you dash out dollars, it's your own money. We also want the institution to find out whether the money is not the money entrusted in the hands of Mr. Sami Gyamfi as acting board, chief executive of a gold board. We also want to know whether there's a potential conflict of interest in this issue. Elton, if you look at the petition again, we want to know whether the codes that we say he has violated, this institution, when they investigate, they are mandated to do these things. They will tell us whether the code was violated or not. And it will put the matter to rest. So if Sami Gyamfi is going to be cleared, he will be cleared properly and his name will still be in touch. But the way they have cleared him is following him all over his political career. So that is why we are petitioning these institutions. And we are going to follow up to make sure that they did independent investigations and report back to the minority so that we will know whether Mr. Sami Gyamfi has committed a crime or not committed. I stated earlier on that we are not here to witch hunt Mr. Sami Gyamfi because of the things that he said when they were in opposition. We in the minority or in the MPP will know very well that it was propaganda, it was lies that they used in coming to power. And when they say prosperity will judge you, so prosperity is judging Mr. Sami Gyamfi because of all what he said about Cecilia Diapa case. So we are serious about this. Parliament will resume on 27th, and we will be submitting a motion again in Parliament.
You will put a motion before the Speaker? Before the Speaker. Demanding what? So
the committee should be set to investigate this issue.
Parliamentary committee to go into this matter as well.
Yes. This is a very serious issue. You see, this is a country. You see that recently, we have seen that in the last 3 days, they say the dollar has come down. But when you go to the market to buy the dollar, it's around 15, 14. But they say it's 12. We are happy if really the dollar is coming down as they said. So if the dollar is coming down, people are rushing to change their dollars to cedi and do businesses. Why is Mr. Sami Gyamfi giving out dollars to people as fuel money?
Okay, we are concluding on this matter. Let me allow her to come in.
I just want you to avert your mind to the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2020, Act 1044, Section 1. And you permit me. Money laundering. A person shall not engage in money laundering. That's Section 1(1). 2. A person commits an offense of money laundering if the person knows or ought to have known that a property is or a form or forms part of the proceeds of unlawful activity, and the person A. conceals, disguises, or transfer the property for the purpose of 1. concealing or disguising the illicit origin of the property, or assisting any person who is involved in the commission of the unlawful activity to evade the legal consequences of the unlawful activity. So that particular act alone makes the possession concealment, conversion, disguise, or transfer that is in any form forms part of an unlawful activity and an offense punishable by a term of imprisonment or up to 10 years. This is the law. This is not me saying it. We want an investigation to be conducted into it. We don't want somebody to come out, and it's becoming a norm now. When we raise the issues of the flight, quickly, the president said that there should be an assistance by the ranking member so that the security agencies will investigate. Before the president could even rest for 24 hours, the government communication came out and defended the matter and said there was nothing wrong without investigation. Again, the president is out of the country. This matter has...
He's currently in the country, currently in Wa on the Stand Q tour.
He was out of the country at the time it happened. Quickly again, the communications officer, the communications minister by sorts, who communicates for government machinery at the presidency, came out without investigation.
He was reporting the decision of the presidency.
No, he said he's reporting the decision of the person being invited and being cautioned because the person has apologized. So today, the standard is that if you commit a crime, you quickly come out and apologize. Then the chief of staff will invite you. And then when the chief of staff invites you, the chief of staff will caution you and they will pardon you. That is the standard. And I can't see that standard in the code of conduct, that you should render an apology. And when you render an apology, it becomes the antidote and the matter will go to rest. We want a clean Sammy Gyamfi. He's a youthful person just as us. We want him to be cleared properly. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo his rule was that investigate the person, brings the report, and he makes pronouncement.
Right.
So in this particular manner, there have not been a single investigation. One was the flight issue, no investigation, pronouncement was made. Another one was on the Attorney General's case, no investigation on that matter. They asked for apology from A+, an apology was rendered. A+ active account was rendered as fake. All that. Third one is the Sammy Gyamfi case, which has not been investigated. They have also come out to tell us that he's been cleared. He was cleared alongside the same time as the withdrawal of the petition to Shiraj.
Okay.
And I don't think that this is going to be a very good aspect of our governance.
Let's leave it here for now and wait for... So what response did you get from the bodies that you presented this petition to?
Elton, going around these three institutions, I must say that they are doing their job well. They give us very good reception, though we didn't meet the head of the institutions, but they have procedure when you are going to submit a petition.
Right.
When we went to Sraj, our petition was received and stamped, and details, they took my details. We went to the CID, the same good reception that they gave us. Went to the OSP, they gave us a very good reception. And I must commend them. So I expect that the reception that they gave us, they will put the same respect to our petition, so that if Mr. Sammy Gyamfi is going to be cleared or he's going to be punished, he will be clear and clear very well.
All right.
If he's going to be punished, he'll be punished very well. Elton, let me also remind you, we can't trust this NDC government. We can't trust them a single bit. You remember when 2 months ago or 1 month ago, the ECG cables issue. You remember that issue? Your media reported it all over. Up to date, the energy minister, the honourable member for Yapi, said that they were going to investigate the issue and get back to the public. Up to date, we have not heard anything.
Some people have been arrested and taken to court.
But they should update the public. And you media houses have to also follow up. Don't let the issues die like that. You also remember Jakpa, when they said they arrested 27 containers full of gold and dollars. Up to date, national security. Up to date, have you heard anything about it? So in the coming days, all these issues, we will have to pick them up and force them to update the public. Because when you get this issue, you are quickly to run to the media, report to the public. Just because MPP left power, you want to paint the MPP black. But when they say investigate and get back to the public again,
you don't get
back to the public.
Okay.
So you have to take this issue on and make sure that the NDC and the John Mahama administration, they do the things the right way for Ghanaians to benefit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nuruddin. Before you go, I mean, since you are in our studio, let me just pick your thoughts on few matters that relates to your party. You issue a statement this week, asking that your party supporters, I don't know whether your party supporters should shut the door to those who are aspiring to lead in various positions in your party. Why this statement?
Thank you, Elton. This is a statement that is in conformity with the party's tradition and precedents. You can remember somewhere 27th of July 2021, we issued a statement under the hand of the former General Secretary, John Boidu, where we issued the code of conduct that was governing the elections at that particular point in time. Somewhere August 2020, the National Council met and we took a decision to reaffirm and rule out the same code of conduct. That code of conduct was made public for the good people of Ghana and the members of the New Patriotic Party. In the last meeting of the National Council, again, the National Council reaffirmed the position of that particular code of conduct. And you can remember, in the hand of lawyer Justin Kodua Frimpong, he issued a statement and asked that we should stop discussing party matters in the media. And I was in this studio to explain aspects of that particular statement. In that particular statement, he carved out only that aspect of the media engagement because that was the matter at the time that was being discussed. And when you check very well in Article 18 of our party's constitution, the National Council and the National Party, guided by the rules and regulations to this constitution, there may be separate rules and regulations of the party to supplement the provisions of this constitution. These rules and regulations may provide the guidelines for the operations of the party at all levels. And that was the instance of which the code of conduct were issued. In that particular code of conduct, members of the party have been banned from campaigning until nominations are open. So because the exigencies of time and what is currently happening within the party, the General Secretary is refreshing the memory of the people of the party to bear in mind that the active code of conduct that was duly issued in 2021, reaffirmed in 2022, was again affirmed in 2025, and that particular code of conduct is still in existence. That is just what the General Secretary has done.
Is it a case that others, some of those who are hoping to lead in various positions in the party, are they picking ahead of time? You think this may destabilize your internal arrangement, the reason why you are reminding them to do this?
You see, there is always a process in everything that you do. Once that process begins, you must get to that stage of which you open nominations and people. So at this stage, we are doing a rebuilding process. We are also thanking the people with regards to a decision of the National Council. So in this particular manner, we don't need people to be campaigning, gathering party officers to sit down to discuss about nominations or possible contest. Nobody is stopping any individual of having ambition. You can have ambition, you can have discussion with Elton, oh, this is the position, I want to contest this and that. But we are telling the general public and the party officers, and again, prospective aspirants, to desist from gathering executives of our party. And when we say executives of our party, polling station executive, electoral area executives, constituency executives, regional executives, national executives, branch executives. You don't gather them at this moment. We have not opened nominations for any contest.
And so there will be punishment for anybody who violates this?
Yes, there are punishments that is clearly stated in there. And we remind them that this is what the rule is. And we should all abide by it. Remember, the tenets of the New Patriotic Party, one of the credentials and the values of the New Patriotic Party is competition. Nobody fears competition. When the right time comes, we will compete. When we end the competition, we will cooperate. And when we cooperate, we will get victory and we govern. That's what we want.
Thank you so much. Haruna Mohammed is a Deputy General Secretary of the MB. Also, Momoni Nuruddin is a Member of Parliament for Narigu, and for coming to the studio. We'll follow up on this matter that they presented to the Office of the Special Prosecutor Sraj Police CID to investigate the source of Mr. Sami Gyamfi's wealth. We'll take a short break here on the pause. When we return, we'll deal with other stories. Stay put. Come back, this is the pause, and of course, the pause is brought to you by Different Dry Cough. Now, if you've got a stubborn cough, get fast relief with Different Dry Cough. Expectorant, it clears chest congestion, smoothes cough, and fight a common cold, helping you breathe easy and feel better. Now, Different Dry is available at all pharmacies and OTCs across Ghana. Not recommended for children under 6 years old. If you are interested in bulk purchase, please visit Rapid Improvement Pharmaceuticals on the Spinters Road next to the Royal House Chapel, or you can as well talk to them today on 053-666-1432. That's 053-666-1432. Different Dry, breathe easy, feel better, and of course, they are proud sponsors. Now, the mayor of Accra, Michael Alote, has issued a final warning to pedestrians traders operating on walkways and busy streets, giving them up until Tuesday, May 20, to cease their activities or face forcible removal. And speaking to the AMA City Hall, at the City Hall, Mayor Alote emphasized that as the Assembly will no longer tolerate unauthorized street trading, which has long contributed to congestion and safety hazards in the city. He said the crackdown is part of broader efforts to decongest Accra streets and improve urban mobility.
This is not time to talk. There's no time to make empty promises. From the day I enter office, I said one thing to myself: I'll make sure Accra will be clean. And it's a promise I made to myself alone. But today, I'm making the promise out there to each and every one of us to know that the streets are not for selling. The streets are a place where cars and it's not a place that we have to engage petty tradings on the pavements. Now they have taken almost half of the streets. But if I wait till something happens, they will come attack the mayor of the city. So as the mayor of the city, I cannot watch this to happen. So on Tuesday, we are starting from Okanshi. We'll move straight to Circle and Carnation. So please, we are not after anybody. We are not coming because we have the power to move you from the street. No, we want to keep the city clean. One thing I want to say is that when you want to clear the streets, sometimes it may seem that you don't have feeling for the people on the streets. But that is not what we are saying. What we are saying is that we have engaged the market women, we have engaged the GPLTU, we have engaged the police. So we beg you, on Tuesday, we are coming to clear the streets. So please move before we get there. And this promise I'm making to you, I'll make sure I stand by it. And by Tuesday, when you have not moved, we will move you.
Well, the traders insist they will not vacate the streets until a permanent place for trade is provided them.
I'm only asking one question. If they ask us to leave the streets, what else are we going to do? Because this is where we get our daily bread. And this is the only space that we have that we get our daily incomes. If they ask us to leave this place, we don't have anywhere to go. That might make us do what is not right that we're supposed to do. So what my own suggestion is that they should have allowed us to do our petty trading or our business by the roadside right there.
The traders have also assured them that there are spaces in the market. So you guys need to move in the market. So you have to go to the trader your trader association to inquire from them on the particular settlement that is being given to you guys?
Okay, we'll look into it. Yeah, me for some brother. So I'm so my brother that someone can correct. Cause move campaign say abaye kura de bi murder. Say kura ni bia basa abaye na ni wo bi. Ghana hajuma ni ha. Eti nyina ye ko school anka ye de pe na awie ya yetimu. Eti say yeah me for some ba be pam ye brother dia. Na ayensem hunu na omo pedi. Sa abaye na be ba kura na. Esasa mo boy enkaye. Mo boy kokko o e bia mo ntwe kwachire. Ababy by which I lie my yen. See a lie with it. It is a quan money at in any quest or more quiet cheek. O muni quas or Mocata say or more pamoye. They say ni biaba. Sa by in a trim. And to say, I am a for banner and DC policy. No more day ba. I'm wired.
Oh, a brother de Mebaha. So, mommy plays them in Cordia. Not my sister, no man, I'll call near Koya market too. Oh, so, mommy plays there not. Anybody else was a coffee, sir.
Force you, and you said, brother, don't because a patch or sorry, you're too free.
I tell you, met me to you, but my place a very comfortable one here. Because I'm more year campaign, I'm the basic Jana say, I'm about no campaign, I'm on you know Abayi. Near to Abama. Now I see no Abayi near to Abama. Now you're not a Pamaya. It's not fair. You have to be a so do washes. You have to follow your rules, and now you have to follow your promise. What's that? Yes, I next year, baby, ma. You be some more dada. Mobile Mobile cast, no baby, no. Either way was.
No dear. So, Monsieur Sababia, Banner or so Bepa Mekura. What in my that tintin say, name number, baby, eternal. No mamma, your lies say any day. Young creature. Son, no me. That's all Monsieur Mo Babana Betia, dear. One you be Sabida. So, my ba. And about where Yaba say, okay, I come face, person, woman, clear, any panocra. Omba me that thing. Omu ya, omba be shakrum. Space will be a space one, no best like a mine. Laddie, there will be any more. Yet I will be our light. Not trouble a drum marketing will be our light. Laddie, the more. No be I, Atana La to Cracker, said the beer. You been a chair, and yet 9 years bad school fees. Then maybe into your school fees to my own walk around Maushi, Yanni 50.
Nti se otina ha se na eba Tuesday na oba na mo besesa onemi na akwa oba pene so ana
oni de enye brage so o meti because yetina ha na yetua lances last year yetua lances 1.5.
All right, so those are the concerns of the traders. They say that until they are provided with a place to ply their trade, it will be difficult for them to adhere to the AMA trade to remove them on Tuesday. Now, so the question really, because this is a yearly ritual. The question is, how committed is the AMA to this new approach, and will they carry it through to the latter? My guest in the studio is Gilbert Ankra, Public Relations Officer of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Gilbert, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And it's been a while.
Sure.
So you've served this notice. So on Tuesday, what will happen?
So on Tuesday, the Assembly's task force will move to the various areas that has been mentioned by the mayor to ensure that traders who are within these particular enclaves, especially on the streets, are moved from these areas to ensure that there will be that free flow of traffic within the city center.
And why has it come to this decision?
Let me state that 2 days ago, the mayor met stakeholders within the city comprising market leaders, members from GUTA, Transport Union, civil society organizations, and the concerns were quite clear. All of them were raising concerns as to the fact that there is some level of congestion within the city center, and they would want the mayor and the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, together with its other sister assemblies, to move in and ensure that these areas are cleared, especially the streets are cleared. The market queen, for instance, they were quite clear that there are shirts in the market for a lot of their traders who are on the streets, and they are pleading that we move in and ensure that we deal with this issue. So these are concerns from stakeholders themselves, and for us as an assembly and for the mayor, Honorable Michael Pakwalute, it is one thing to ensure that we deal with the issue to free the streets of Accra of these congestion.
And so those who are seeking to remove, have you engaged them?
Yes, we have engaged them, and that is what I said. They were part of the people we engaged on Tuesday. We had members from the market associations. We had people from GUTA. We have transport union operators. And for the transport union operators, they were even complaining of, there are areas, there are times where you have these drivers stopping at unauthorized.
Of course, they also violate the traffic rules. They stop and pick passengers anywhere. And they were complaining about the activities of the traders.
Yes, so they are all part of this congestion issue, and the assembly will move in to ensure that we deal with all these people. The mayor promised a 24-hour sanitation and cleanup task force to ensure that this particular exercise is really. But let me add briefly. Okay. When you go to the Kanishin enclave, for instance, on the footbridge, is quite in a very deplorable state, and as part of what the mayor said, he was quite clear that a person selling on all these areas would also be cleared.
But you heard the traders; they say that they have no place to undertake their business. If you should move them out on Tuesday, now they will be jobless. And so the plan is they are asking that, where are you taking us to? You can't just come and say that, gather your wares and move out when you've not provided them with where to trade. Is there a plan to move them to a specific area, and that if they don't move, then they will just be inviting trouble upon themselves?
Let me state that the Assembly over the years have embarked on measures to ensure that we redevelop the markets that we have. Mokola Market, 31st, Mokola Market, for instance, we've done 2 sheds there, and it's accommodating a lot of them. If you listen carefully to the market queens themselves, they claim that a lot of these traders are their friends, and they have shares within the market.
But they will say that it's expensive. The kind of business they do, it's difficult for them to invest their capital in the shares.
Actually, they have the shares in the market,
and they've decided
and they normally use these shares as warehouse to keep their goods and come in. And this is what we want to move away from and ensure that the streets are cleared. Especially, the streets are not meant for trading activities.
That's true.
We all know that. Maybe before Christmas festivities, traders come in to do their business. Immediately after the season is over, they have to move. So they are aware. We would also have our information services vans moving out to the various areas to keep on reminding them that on Tuesday, this is what we are coming to do.
So is it only the central business districts or within the entire catchment area of AMA?
We are looking at the entire catchment area of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and then areas within Kuala Municipal Assembly. The Kuala MCE was also part of the press conference to also state that these areas within his jurisdiction is also part of the areas to be cleared.
So therefore, as you speak today, they have until Tuesday to move out. Tuesday, there will be no issue of negotiation and
not at all.
Persuasion.
Not at all.
Tuesday morning, when you move, you are just clearing everybody out.
With the level of engagement we've had so far, we are quite hopeful that there wouldn't be any resistance.
They will say that you didn't give them enough time. That's always been the excuse.
Yes.
Like give it like a month to move out.
Yes, we've given them since January to be there up to this particular month. And they are aware that it's time for them to leave. And for us as an assembly, just as I said, we would ensure that the streets are cleared so that we'll be able to protect pedestrians as well.
And then what will be the long-term plan to ensure they don't come back? Okay, so you see, we'll be getting towards Christmas. Another election will be coming, and they will have the bargaining power to say that we'll make it politically unwise for you to take the decision. What is the long-term goal so that it doesn't become a 9-day wonder? Something that we've been used to when the new government is in town, there's goodwill, they do some of these things at the initial stages. 2-3 years down the line, they allow them to come onto the streets.
For the assembly, just as I said, there is a redevelopment of the market. There is a plan to redevelop most of the markets that we have in the city. And as part of their request, we even have some of the traders urging the assembly to move in to even work on the Slaga market.
Okay.
So as part of the broader plan to redevelop the market, we are looking at expanding the market to be able to accommodate a lot more of these traders. That notwithstanding, the mayor has also promised a 24-hour task force to deal with sanitation and some of these related issues. So in terms of ensuring that the people adhere to the rules and regulations, we are up to the task, and we will ensure that the necessary interventions are done to ensure that the city is free of congestion.
So clearly, the assurance that this will be sustained.
It will be sustained, I can assure you.
Let's briefly talk about waste management within the catchment area and what you are doing about it. The last time I hosted some engineers from AMA, I mean, waste dump sites, I mean, having a place for waste contractors to dump has become a major challenge. Let's first start with what the assembly is doing to manage the waste generated in the city.
For the assembly, with respect to waste management in the city, a lot is being done. And now you will find pockets, heaps of refuse all over the city gathered everywhere. With the waste management department is ensuring that these wastes are collected on daily basis. In as much as we acknowledge the fact that there are some people litter all around, we are putting in measures to also deal with that. And very soon the assembly would be commissioning its sanitation court to enforce the
sanitation
law.
Court.
Yes, a sanitation court, a new sanitation court to enforce the law. And we are quite hopeful that some of these measures will help in dealing with the issue. We also trying to promote waste segregation within the entire catchment area. And let me use this opportunity to currently, when you're looking at the AMA zone, we are looking at areas such as Okankwe South,
right.
So the entire Okankwe South, looking at communities, Kanishin, North Kanishin, Bubuashin, parts of industrial area and circle. Now we are looking at the entire Ablekuma South, Kolebu, Mamplubi, and its environs. We are looking at the main central business district. So these areas constitute the main Accra Metropolitan Assembly. And on issues of waste, in as much as we don't have that a landfill site to move, a proper engineer landfill site, let me say, to move some of these waste, we are trying our best to ensure that we embark more on recycling, so that at least the waste that we generate will be able to recycle.
Yeah, but before you go, final words, especially to the traders who are watching and unclear what awaits them on Tuesday.
We want to let the traders understand that their safety is at risk. And as a matter of fact, the assembly will not sit down to let some of these things happen, especially with respect to congestion within the city center. And we want to urge them to comply with this very directive and then move back into the market. If they have any other issues, they should fall on the assembly and we'll find a way to resolve the issue.
All right. Thank you so much, Gilbert Ankra, for coming through. He's a public relations officer with Accra Metropolitan Assembly. On Tuesday, they are embarking on a decongestion exercise to rate the central business district of traders who are trading, who have taken the pavements as their trading places. They just want to ensure that sanity prevails in this area. And the Tuesday is the deadline. So if you are watching, well, the warning has been served. Now, the WA Municipal Chief Executive, Alhaji Issa Nura Dawadna, has disclosed that his topmost priority is to execute the WA Ring Road project, which aims at creating a bypass for heavy trucks bound for neighboring West African countries to reduce accidents and also an obstruction at the heart of the municipality. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Joy News, Alhaji Dawana also disclosed plans to decongest the central business district. Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafik Salam reports from WA.
The WA Municipal Chief Executive Alhaji Issa Nura Dawana face open up on the WA Ring Road project.
You know that we have several and so many obstructions and accidents in town here by these Burkina-based vehicles that pass through the main town, causing traffic and then causing accidents. So our main wish or program we want to outline is to try and get the WA Ring Road project, where these vehicles always bypass WA towards Burkina Faso. And you know, this is the shortest place to Burkina Faso. So most of the vehicles now pass through town. So we'll be working on the WA Ring Road project.
Next was the decongestion of the Central Business District.
Our CBD, that's the Central Business District, is very congested, seriously congested. So we intend to also create satellite markets that most people would rather prefer to be at those particular markets instead of coming to the main markets. Our town here is not also having car parks, so we are trying very hard to see how best we can bring in private investors and people who will be willing to give out their lands for car parking. We're also looking at redesigning some portions of the market to be able to accommodate more people, so that if it is accommodating about 1,000 people now, we can do the same place. We can multiply it to accommodate about 3,000 people. That is as part of the congestion process. We'll also be moving some other people. I don't want to mention it here, because if you do, they will start fighting you. We'll be moving some other people from the market to different locations where we'll now create more space for some other people.
What about the sanitation challenge the municipality is facing?
A serious case we are currently tackling, because the containers that has been in the system has been destroyed, some not being properly managed. So we want to see how best we can tackle waste management in the municipality. It's one of our key areas we'll be doing.
He then zeroed in on education.
So many school blocks that are seriously dilapidated, that has not seen renovation for over 50 years. Especially if you go to the cattle school currently, you don't even believe that people are studying in that environment. You go to Tendamba School, the same thing. You go to Fongo, LA, the same thing. Most of the schools. So we'll be looking at how we can renovate these schools and see how best we can also provide some of these schools with new classroom structures. Furniture is another very serious issue in these particular schools. So we want to see how best as a municipal assembly will tackle these issues to make sure that we have enough school desks for our classrooms.
The Wa mayor also spoke about stray animals.
It's a very serious worry. We'll tackle that today. I even had a discussion with my environmental department. We'll be handling that very soon. What we'll do that we are looking for a space where we can always do this animal arrest in quotes, so that we'll just go in and pick them and then dump them there until they come. It is one of the assembled bylaws that we are entitled to. And next time maybe we'll arrange or make it in such a way that if you commit that crime severally, or if you allow the animals to stray severally, then we'll know the next step to take.
Does Alhaji Isa Danwana has any plan regarding upping the ante on revenue generation in the municipality?
And I've seen the leakages. Sometimes you raise the issues and they will not want to listen to you. And just as you said, I'm on the seat now. And knowing those leakages, I'll ensure that we'll close all those leakages. You know, their system in such a way that you know that when you are trying to fight corruption, corruption will always find ways of fighting you. So I will not disclose most of the measures we'll put in place to stop those leakages. But I'm assuring you that we'll do that to improve upon the revenue.
He concluded with his vision for the municipality.
I want to see a very beautiful municipal or metropolitan assemblies to be. I want to ensure that our people are safe in terms of security. I want to ensure that our people's poverty is reduced. I want to ensure that we have good health care, we have quality education, we have a good environment for our people to study. And I want to say that I need the cooperation of all in the municipality to be able to achieve these objectives.
Reporting for Dwayne News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
And let me take you outside the shores of Ghana as we conclude. Now, European leaders, including new German Chancellor Merz, continue to put pressure on Russia to agree to a ceasefire with Ukraine ahead of a planned peace talk in Turkey. Now, Germany reminded Moscow that any failure to join the ceasefire offered by Ukraine would bring further sanctions on Russia. For more, let me cross over to Thomas Sparrow, correspondent with our partner GWTV. Thomas, how confident are Germany and other European countries that these proposed peace talks could yield results?
Germany and other European countries are skeptical. They see this as a potential first step in the right direction to stop the war in Ukraine. However, from the German perspective, from the European perspective, a ceasefire should come before talks and not necessarily after talks. And that's the reason why European leaders, and that includes also new German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, have been putting pressure on Russia to agree to this idea of a 30-day ceasefire with Ukraine as a precondition for further talks that could then be the base for discussing what peace would look like in Ukraine. So all in all, this is seen as a step in a potential right direction, but European leaders are no doubt skeptical and at least cautious of what this all means, and they're also discussing how they can position themselves further. It's important to stress that European leaders are trying to work together when it comes to common positions, when it comes to their views on Ukraine and Russia, and that's why in recent days several European leaders from the UK, from Poland, from Germany, from France, actually visited Kiev to try and also underscore their support for Ukraine and also discuss what that potential peace would look like.
Well, Germany has a new government. How big of an issue is the Ukraine-Russia war for new Chancellor Friedrich Merz?
The war is indeed a very big issue here in Germany, and specifically for the new government under Friedrich Merz, and that has several reasons. One obviously being the fact that Germany has supported Ukraine from the start of the war. Germany, as many other European countries, believe that borders should not be moved by force, and as such they have strengthened step by step their support of Ukraine. But there's another element which is important from the German perspective, namely that Germany has welcomed a large number of Ukrainian refugees since the war in Ukraine began, and that has meant that here in Germany the debate about the war in Ukraine, the debate about how to end the war in Ukraine, is one that has a lot of relevance. And that's why it's also been taken very seriously by the new German government. And that's why, as one of the first measures put in place after that new government came into power only a few days ago, was that visit by European leaders, including Friedrich Merz, to Ukraine.
Curious to know, how do Europeans view these proposed talks and more broadly the military and political support to Ukraine?
This political and military support for Ukraine is very probably going to continue, especially as there is no sense that the war could end anytime soon. As I stressed, it is seen as a first step, these potential talks, but European leaders would certainly want this ceasefire to come before potential talks, and that means that political and military support for Ukraine would probably continue. And in fact, again, from a German perspective, Germany has increased its military spending, and part of the promises by the new German government is to continue to do that. Not only, obviously, for support to Ukraine, also to support Germany's own military forces, but political and military support to Ukraine is a priority that very probably will continue from a German and from a European standpoint.
All right, Thomas Sparrow, thank you so much, from our partners DWTV in Germany. Well, folks, that's our show for today. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com, for more stories. We've got more stories on Top Story, Newsnight on Joy FM 99.7, of course, on Joy News Prime at 7 p.m. with Fosina Safo. Whatever you are up to in the hours ahead, I hope is profitable. My name is Elton Broby. Have a good evening and take care.